So, I've talked a lot in this video series about how Desire and how the show handles those themes and just all those little interconnecting parts. And now, as we are heading into the end game, I think a lot of the true colors of those desires and those themes are really coming into light. Hello and welcome to Gateway to Geats, your video review of Kamen Rider Geats, made by a robot VTuber. Hello, it is I, said robot VTuber, and this is the wrap to this arc. And we get a lot of little scenes showcasing just like what's going down till the inevitable showdown. And first things first is the gardener jumps into the fight, try to get his pound of flesh, basically going like, none of y'all care about Jumatos. This is bullshit. Fuck you. Fuck this. Fuck that. You know? I mean, it's the gardener, but it's the Jumato who took on the gardener, so now there's even more of like a reason why the Jumatos are genuinely fighting for what they want and their ultimate desire. We then also have a scene of Niram, the producer, telling Neon's dad that the DGP will be leaving after all this is wrapped up, leaving that time period. Neon's father is fucking living and is just like, no, you are reneging on a deal and not giving me what I want. And he's just telling him, like, yeah, tough shit. I don't give a fuck. You know? As Baroba is just telling Buffa that she helped him out because he was pathetic. That's it. Really. It's just, he was a fail man. And that's, and that was about as much as seeing what he would do, you know? Just like, okay, this is a pathetic loser man. What will happen if I give him a little bit more power? You know? And then, all the while, Ace is just trying to bounce back after, like, all the revelations going down of just, like, how he lines up with the Goddess of Desire, just what she does, so on and so forth. The loss of Kawa, of like, oh shit, my friend is gone. And while he's still processing that, and Buffa's like hassling him, Jean shows up and basically helps push him in the right direction. It's just like, hey, you're Ace, you're Geats. You gotta fight this. You gotta fucking be the hero, bud. Kind of thing. And we get a brilliant fucking fight between Geats and Buffa. Because basically Geats just shows up and goes like, give me the goddess, give me the vision driver, right? And it's just like, really, in my opinion, really well choreographed, really good use of the set location that they had. But Geats uses trickery because of course he does, he is a kitsune, gets the vision driver and does see the Goddess of Desire and basically goes like, shit, mom. And then Niram, the producer, shows up and goes like, alright, cool. Give that to me. What? Give that to me. I'm trying, like, relieving. Fuck this shit. No more desires. No more any of this. And Geese basically goes like, yeah, no. I'm trying to solve the problem. And they henshin. They transform. They fight. And that boils over into the like the real world and the end of the Yamato game, as basically they say any light color disappears, and everybody but Keiwa's sister and the little kid she was protecting fucking vanish, and that's devastating. Meanwhile, Ace and the producer are just at each other's throats, bouncing everywhere. Great use of their powers, great use of just like understanding each character's power set and making the fight interesting between the two of them, you know what I mean? Bounce back and forth, do all that kind of stuff. They eventually both fall into a hole. Geats uses the secondary form of the boost power up with like Jean's gun, and he gets like uses the gravity powers, producers using the platforms, they're fighting in the middle of the hole, and Buffa just goes like, alright, cool, I'm part plant now, remember? Uses like zombie vines, grabs them, drags them down, wins, and basically eliminates the producer and Geats. And that was his plan the whole time. He just wanted to pit them against each other and take advantage of the chaos, and now he has both belts and can enact his plan. Over and over, we are shown just how one can achieve their desires, you know? But those desires are easily manipulated. The DGP likes to pit its players against each other for fun and entertainment. But realistically, they would do better working together to achieve any of their goals, whether in the DGP or outside of it. And the easy solution of a wish is blinding them to the fact that the DGP is exacerbating these issues. Ace's mom is being held what seems to be prisoner by them. The DGP is at fault. Neon's existence and lack of love was egged on by them. Basically, a get-a-free-daughter card that Neon's dad was not in the right state of mind to fully contextualize and understand, and resulting in a traumatized individual and a man who seemingly doesn't want to acknowledge the guilt he has for that traumatized individual. Kawa's peace is threatened by the sheer fact that the DGP exist and are egging on conflict. And Buffa, Kamen Riders are the enemy because they hurt people, because it puts the world in a situation where people can be harmed. And Kamen Riders were created by the DGP. Looking at, if they just worked together and fought the common enemy, they'd be better off. The DGP plays them like the game it is to them. They're all pawns for simple entertainment. And that's even reflected with the Yamatos, with, well, their chess motif, but how they're just seen as disposable, nothing enemies that the Gardener wants to rectify, because he sees, well, the humanity in the Yamatos. And the DGP is ultimately the root cause for a lot of their suffering. But we are shown repeatedly that working together achieves more. Anytime in the past where they were in a challenge, when they worked together, they were able to beat it relatively easily. Only by arguing amongst themselves were they not able to accomplish their goals. And the DGP knows this. So it's better to keep everybody at each other's throat. Or else they think they might be able to just get rid of the situation entirely. They keep their future fans placid, unwilling to help. They keep the Yamatos the enemy, a very easy target to just go and fight and kill. And the DGP wields all of that power while giving everyone else scraps. I thought this episode was amazing. It's a great wrap-up for what's been going down. The fights were great. Both of them were. I thought the choreography was fantastic. Ingenious use of the powers in the second one. It was really inventive, and I really enjoyed it. And hey, if you really enjoyed this video, please give me a like, give me a comment, give me a subscription. I know you want to. You can. Yeah. And hey, give me a follow on social media. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Tumblr. Links are all in the description. And hey, you can always follow me on Twitch. I stream Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at the time of the upload of this video. And hey, you can look in the description to find out what that is. But hey, that's not the end of this video. We still have some comments. First up, from the Fish Pop. Bubbles of sadness that are actually condensed happiness, which just makes it sadder. The gardener let himself get eaten, but at least the monsters took his form, letting the actor stay in the cast. Yeah, it's definitely interesting how the show kind of plays with sacrifice of, like, other people need to suffer for others to have their happiness, but that's only for the person to achieve their happiness, to have, like, the full ultimate version of, like, shitting on other people's like their like pure unadulterated happiness. But realistically, you don't. Like, Kayla can achieve peace by just helping other people and making a better world. Naeon can just find love. Like, ultimately, they don't need to sacrifice others, but it's that dogmatic idea of that's the only way you can achieve your desire that results in the sacrifice of other people's happiness. And boy, I wonder if all of this metaphor and theming of desire and systems that hold power is reflective of the real world in some way. I don't know. I'm just a dumb little robot on the internet. I ain't no dude talking about value theory of economics. Next up, from Blaze Chaos. It's a sad moment to see Keiwa absorbs the reality that his parents probably died for Ace's wish, and seeing Buffa prove his point with a schoolgirl pushing an old man to save herself. But despite it all, Keiwa strengthened his resolve to fight for the peace he desired, so that no one would suffer like he did. I wonder if his sister joins the next game to avenge her brother, and Bubba really got deeper into the revenge as he hurts others to prove his point. Up next, the final judgment, who will win? Well, we know who won this episode. And ultimately, I think that does show kind of what I was talking about a little bit ago. Is like, when you are fighting something this big and you are trying to fight for, like, your desire and all that kind of stuff, you should work with other people. Mutual aid is important, and helping each other is important, because none of their wants contradict each other. Keiwa wants peace, while Buffa wants the destruction of Kamen Riders. And, like, yeah, he's lashing out, and it's from trauma, it's from pain, but they ultimately want a conflict to disappear. Naeon wants to find love, which doesn't contradict anything else. Ace wants to just find out the truth, so on and so forth. None of their desires ultimately contradict each other, and they could work together to solve their problems. But emotions and the system that they find themselves in pushes them in certain directions. Next up, from Toa Nui. So I'm almost at a loss for words with this episode, but I do still have a few. I think Keiwa might have been a little angry at Ace when he learned the truth of people's happiness, because Ace has been the undisputed champion for this life, and probably a good chunk of however many other lives he lived. And while not Ace's fault, that means a lot of people's lives have been used to fuel Ace's wishes. And frankly, I'd be pretty mad too if I knew that my parents died so someone could become the star of stars, etc., etc. And with that in mind, I'm not surprised with how Ace has been hit by this. One of his moms supposedly been gobbling up other people's happiness as fuel, and two, he's been unknowingly burning said fuel in his attempts to find her. On a different note, and a more broad aspect, I realized last week that all of our main riders have a direct and indirect connection to death. Ace has repeatedly died throughout the centuries, throughout his reincarnations. Neon's effectively born from the death of Akari. Buffa, I just realized I can't remember his civilian name, Michinaga. That's his name, it's Michinaga. But hey, 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Joined because his friend died to a-hole Kamen Riders, and Keiwa's parents were killed in the DGP, and he may have technically died in this episode, but I have my doubts. Also, you bringing up the themes of Kamen Rider seasons, specifically O's theme of moderation of desire, is part of the reason why they are my favorite seasons of Kamen Rider, and probably why Geats is working his way to be another favorite of mine. And with that, I've really been thinking of doing a video series of my own, specifically about the individual episodes of O's and its themes. I'm just waiting for all the combos and the SH Figuarts renewal line, as I want to do mine with some stop motion highlighting my favorite combos used in the episodes. First off, like, yeah, no, I think both Ace and Keiwa were angry, but it's like, Keiwa had someone external he could be angry at. Ace could only be angry at himself. And if we are kind of looking at the DGP as, like, systemic stuff, then kinda Ace has, like, a form of privilege of just, like, winning and not knowing the full ramifications of his actions and that kind of thing. And I think maybe the link to death is just like this season's trauma mobile of just like, oh, death, you know. But maybe there's also a link to how in death many people like come to understand their regrets in life and the desires they didn't fight for, and maybe through these reflections of death they understand the true ramifications of what they desire, you know. Maybe that's trying to be part of it. And yo, my dude, full encouragement on the O series. O's is one of my favorite seasons. It has a lot of thematic meat that you can just like rip into, and you don't have to like it's a kid show. It is a kid show that, despite all the heavy-handed like the thematic elements, it's a kid show. This is meant to be easily digestible for kids. Yes, there's a lot of thematic weight, but kids aren't dumb. That being said, it's relatively easy to dive into all the stuff O's has available. And hey, I encourage you to do it, and I can't wait to see it. Next up, from... Sorry, I scrolled too far. From Sakura Tora, Lamentation Arc is really well named. The trio was hit emotionally where it hurts most. Ace wanted to find the meaning of his life, only to find out it comes at the cost of innocent lives and dreams. If true, Neon finds the familial love she's been envious of is more out of reach due to her existence. Keiwa finds that the bit of peace he's been fighting for is at the cost of happiness and lives of others, and the system costed his parents' life. Interesting to see how things culminate to they're not saving the world, they're just entertainment. Not only just that, but due to the true nature of the DGP, all their ideals, desires, hopes are just fantasy. As you said, he's showing more humanity, and as a result, it makes more of an impact when he does show his real emotions. It's the first time Ace looks so lost. His fist doesn't meet Keiwa's eye. He first doesn't meet Keiwa's eyes while he's yelling at him, and then shoved and shook his face. Was also tearing up when Buffa told him that he took out Keiwa. Wow, I fear the next episode may have him really broken down. And poor Keiwa, although he resolved to still bring happiness to the world at the end, I think it's the start of Keiwa's darker arc. Not all dark, but naivety gone, and the cynical first episode Keiwa becoming harsher. He's being set up for to be anti-DGP, and I doubt he'll make wishes knowing the price of winning. Buffa had been the first on the path to leave because he had some honor left, but seeing the truth of the DGP to the extent of what it is, and that his friend was just fuel for the next wish, well, if he didn't hate Ace before, quite sure he was used for Ace's next wish, that was just horrid. He threw out his honor and now all about burning it to the ground, no matter what it means. The ends justify it. Yeah, like I keep repeating, all of their wishes could kind of come true if they worked together and destroyed the DGP as a conceptual idea. You know, I want peace. Well, get rid of the conflict. I want to find love. Well, get rid of the thing that puts you on the path of fucking loneliness. Like, Ace wants answers for his strange life. Buffalo wants to destroy the Kamen Riders. Like, sometimes you need to destroy the systems that oppress you more than you need to fight each other. And if the monkey paw keeps biting you, you gotta bite the monkey paw, And it could also, like, go, like, with the celebrity culture thing, which is, like, an undercurrent. Treat people like disposable trinkets in entertainment. Do not be surprised if they don't want that anymore, And that is a very interesting thing with this season of Kamen Riders. Like, a lot of the stakes are not like, oh, the world will be destroyed, or oh, they're going to take over, or oh, they're a natural disaster, or anything like that. It's very much the bad guys are dickheads and abusive to the individuals themselves. And yeah, they kill a lot of people. That's fucked up. But it's not like they're killing people for, like, taking over. It's to the DGP, it is literally collateral damage. And that's kind of fucked. It's interesting. It's interesting how weird the DGP is as, like, an evil organization entity in Kamen Rider. And finally, from Esconde. There's quite a few things I want to nitpick this episode, but after taking some time to cool off, I settled on setting aside my disappointments and letting Yuya Takashi cook again. Speaking of cooking, I'm really happy our boy Kenwell can now cook his favorite dish thanks to working at the shop. On paper, this Mario Party death game is something our duo is very well equipped to deal with. Laser Boost has gravity powers, and Twin Command can fly. In the first half of the game, we see that in action. Michinaga attempts to throw Ace to his doom, ends up moot when the later goes into Laser Boost, with Ace flat out telling him that's not going to work. KOL charges up Twin Command Jet just in time to save Sarah and the other civilians and handle a 1v2 against higher ranked Giamatti. The reveals Ace and KOL learned today shook them immensely. Ace arguably more so because he's not able to say anything. Now I imagine what the plant crew told them isn't the whole story, since it benefit them more to give Geats and Tycoon information than it would affect them in the worst way. What I think is the first time truly the invincible Geats, the Star of Stars, is at a loss for words and just stays there. The episode also highlights things you've touched on before, first being the folly of the hero. KO is a great guy, a hero without a doubt in my mind, but he also tends to let his emotions get the better of him. Learning his parents got turned into fuel for the witch of the sick game, his beliefs and hopes are shattered when that schoolgirl shoved a man to his doom just to save her own skin. That'd be enough to break anyone. I do love that the episode calls back to the cynical side of KO that we saw in the start of the series. I can't blame him for lashing out at Ace, though. I imagine he just needed that moment and doesn't blame him completely. If it just happened and he was the only person he could yell at. Secondly, is that he's the moral core that holds the characters together. Even in his lowest moment of lashing out, he vows that no one will be sacrificed on his watch, carrying out the lesson that Ace taught him before, that he has to fight for the things he wants. K1 doesn't ask Ace for help and rushes to try and save everyone. His creative uses of charging up the tactical slash when it was pinned down on the floor is fantastic, even if it gets taken out by Michinaga shortly after. I really hope someone takes down Buffa several pegs soon, either soon or in the next arc, cause man, to think he got the gall to mock KO's words and selflessness before throwing him off. It was truly uncalled for, and poor Sarah, now she's seen all of her family members die because of the game. Yeah, it's definitely interesting how they played these whole things psychologically, because it was literally like, we need to get rid of KO just so he's not there fucking up our plan so we can fully beat Geats. So we need to shake Ace to his core so he doesn't do anything, and then we can beat KO. And also, hey, doing the same time would mean KO's off his game and won't be thinking of everything. And it's interesting to look how, yeah, no, legitimately, the final two people, the producer and Geats, were able to just stand in the hole, fight, and then Buffalo's just like, all right, cool, push. Like, it doesn't matter realistically because, like, yeah, he can just pull them where he wants with the Jamato stuff. And I think it's like, it's a false sense of security, you know? It is the idea that, like, oh, the DGP has all the power, so they're cocky and sure of themselves. Uh-oh, things got stolen, and now they have no power. It's a repeat of that, like, at the beginning of this arc. It's underestimating their opponent, and I think that's interesting for this big bad villain group that, like, they see these people as ants, not the superpowered people who are willing to put their lives on the line to get what they want. And if what they want now is to see your destruction, that's not really a great place to be. But hey, that's it for this episode of Gateway to Geats. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, like, comment, subscribe, call to action, do all the things. And until next time, I hope you stay Geatsing.